Hi friends, welcome back to Julia in the Garden. I am popping outside today, hopefully in between rainstorms, to show you around my house. So I've actually been pretty busy with non-garden things. I haven't been out in the garden as much as I would like to be normally, and it's been raining almost every day, so it's quite wet. Most of the plants are actually doing surprisingly well given the amount of rain. Some are struggling a little bit, but let me just show you what's happening. I'm actually starting here. I'm on we have a breezeway between our house and garage, and that's where I'm starting, and I'm gonna show you one of my absolute favorite pots. Here we are. It is right next to my door. So this is a heuchera. I don't actually know what variety it is. It's been in this pot. This is its second year, I think. It was in here last year, and it overwintered and came back, which I'm so happy with, because isn't it just, I love it so much, and I think that it goes perfect with these begonias. I think these are like an apricot begonia. Yeah, I just think they're absolutely gorgeous. So this is one of my absolutely favorite containers. I hope the heuchera can overwinter in there again. I am debating if I should transplant it. It has gotten a lot bigger than I believe it was in the past. I actually don't know if there's maybe more than one now. I don't know. Do they grow like that? Do they clump up? This is its roots. If you know, let me know if you think I should transplant this out, because I could just transplant this out into a spot in the garden as well. I love heucheras, so let me know what you think about that. We're going to enjoy it for at least another month out here. Okay, we've now stepped down the stairs. You can see that pot we were just looking at. There's that pop of blue in the middle here. And I have these two pots. These are cordon planters that I got from Gardener Supply. I have a video where I planted these up earlier this year, so I'll insert that here. I love the banana plants. The one on the right has always looked a little bit more stressed than the one on the left throughout the year. The one on the left does have some leaves that are starting to look more stressed now, but it is still gigantic and beautiful, and I love it. And okay, so there's a lot of stuff going down, but one thing you will notice is the stems of the sweet potato. So this just happened over the last couple days. I remember saying to my husband over this last weekend how cool my sweet potato vine was over here, because it was like down and running along the ground. I'm pretty sure this was a groundhog that just ate all that up, because I've seen it eating other things. So we've been really lucky it hasn't been around much this year. I thought I had just told somebody that I hadn't seen it near the house recently, but yeah, it's back, so we're gonna have to get that taken care of. So that's a bummer, but the other plants do look good. This coleus here that I can't remember the name of, I just love it, and I love the begonias back in here. These containers might all look, the plants at the bottom might look better from a distance, but if you've grown banana plants, let me know what you think. I might just cut off the leaves that are looking a little not as good on this side, at least. The other side, just a lot of them aren't, or I think it's the wind. It comes in tatters a bit. Also, I'm thinking of trying to take this one on the left and put it in a big pot to overwinter it inside. I think it's going to end up dying back, even if I do that. And then maybe we can get it to come back next year. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know if you know what you think. Trying not to make you dizzy, we have turned around. This is the green stalk that I planted up like a rainbow. I will put a link to that video here as well. So, mostly good here, except the bottom. The pansies were eaten, I'm guessing, again, by the groundhog. We also have rabbits, but they've been around for a while and haven't eaten things. Let me come around this way so I can show you. I think this is probably the best angle to see the different colors I've got going on. So I've got red and pinks at the top, and then orange, and then yellow, and then green, and there was a blue pansy there that the petals were eaten, and then purple at the bottom with the purple alyssum. There were purple pansies, and there's purple basil. So I'm happy about how it finally filled out. So there you go. That's the green stalk planter. I'm going to scan this way now. So these are Incredible Blush, and they are pretty much faded into their like aged antique color that they do, but they start off much more pink. The dragon is still so cute in there, and actually my bleeding hearts, not all of them have held on, and so I'm hoping the ones that haven't come back next year, but there's a couple of them that are just still looking amazing, so that's really cool. My boxwoods look pretty healthy. They've got some new growth. You can see here that bright green is new growth. So they look really good. Hopefully they've established or are establishing a good root system. There. Excellent. I have rhododendrons over here. And then this is a DeGroot Spire Arborvitae. So it's going to get, I think it gets to about 8 feet tall. But it grows slowly. But you, like, if you see the thinner part at the top, like here, I think from here up, I think that's all new growth this year. And there's like another little section here that was not really there before, but I'm fine with that. It looks beautiful to me, so whatever it wants to do. As long as it doesn't get too close to the house, which I don't think it should. It should stay rather narrow, so I'm happy with how that's growing. And I do have my black pearl heuchera around the bottom, and oh, they look so good. They look so, so good. And I planted 2 of them later. I don't know if you remember, maybe 1 or 2? I can't remember. In the initial video, which I can also link here, I didn't have, at least that one on the end was not planted. I can't remember, it was maybe 2 of them that I decided to put in later. But yeah, it's catching up. They looked kind of tired and ratty when I first put them in early in the spring. And yeah, they just look like this all the time. Now, some of the bloom stalks are done. Some of them still look great. This variety, I think, is pretty good at coming back in most places. So let's keep our fingers crossed. It is one of my absolute favorite plants. So I just want heuchera all over the place. So there we go. Black pearl heuchera. Behind that, I do have some double pink impatiens in there, which are just like a nice pop of color. They look like they could use not being so wet. But it has been very wet, and they are right by a downspout there. So I might choose something different next year. We'll see. But they are still a nice pop of color. So, and they're annuals, so they wouldn't come back anyway. And to the hydrangeas, these are Incrediballs. The other variety was a blush. These are just, I guess, normal Incrediballs. So they come out a creamy white color, and then they age to this kind of greeny aged color. And oh, I'm so happy with how they did this year. So they went in like in August last year. So they've been in the ground for about a year, but they were really sad in their cans last year. And oh my goodness, I'm just so, so pleased with how they're doing this year. This one has had slightly fewer blooms, but I'm not really too concerned about it. It's just a little bit behind. This is how, like, the color they come out as. So, like, beautiful and fresh. And this time of year, they're starting to age. And these ones are starting to just burn a tiny bit. I think it's just normal for, like, the first couple of years for plants to might struggle with that a little bit. We also get a lot of wind here. It is what it is right now, and I'm really happy with how they're doing. And the boxwoods in the front are all looking happy as well. Okay, so I have some pots over here that you're going to see that also, actually this morning, I caught the groundhog out here nibbling on the sweet potato vines in these pots. And I came out and had to yell at it twice, once for each side. I've been keeping an eye out. This was kind of pots of leftover stuff I had from other containers. So we have salvias in here. I have more down the rock walkway. This one actually at some point, like most of the plant snapped off in a windstorm and then it came back. So it's not as full as the other ones, but it's still beautiful. And this is I think it's Rockin' Blue Salvia. I can't remember if it's Rockin' or plain Blue Salvia. It's the Proven Winners variety. This is a new plant to me this year. This is Diatia. I got some for the deck boxes, which we'll get to towards the end of the tour, and they're looking absolutely gorgeous. This is the lighter color pink here. They seem to be liking all the water, I guess. They look fantabulous. And then I've got sweet potato vine in here. I did also have the I don't know what to call it, the little pom-pom-ish flower. It did not like the water, as you can see, so luckily all the other things hide that. It's fine. I finally got my hellebores planted behind here, so I'm hoping this is far enough forward that it won't be completely covered in snow when, like, the snow falls off the roof in this area here. I think it'll mostly just be right here, and so hopefully in the early spring these will have had time to root in, and will come back beautiful in flower. We'll have to see. You'll have to subscribe and check it out next March, I think, is when that would happen. Oh, we can just, do you guys see the walkway? I am so happy with it. The alyssum on the right side from us here are doing much better than the alyssum on the left side, especially at the end. And I really don't know why. I guess maybe there's something down there, they're not getting as much water, or I don't know. But anyway, I will definitely do alyssum here again next year. I may just do the salvia again too, because it's just, it's wonderful, guys. It's wonderful. But before we leave this area and move on, let me show you the deck. All right, so the white planters I'm struggling with a little bit right now. The sweet potato vine, I probably shouldn't put so much sweet potato vine in because it just takes over. I do love the ferns. They're going to be planted out in the landscape. But my begonia, I had some pink begonias in there. And I think two things. One, my 4-year-old decided early this spring to come pick all the flowers off of them. And I learned that the begonias don't recover as well from that as some other plants may. So they're not super happy. And then they just got covered up by the sweet potato vine. They were not as vigorous. So, and neither was the fuchsia. I do see like a little pop of pink over here. And these I need to water more because it's just been raining so much that I haven't been like watering much. All right, so some of these are okay in here. Like this is a fuchsia. Oh, well, I might have accidentally broken it. The fuchsia's looking kind of sad. There are some flowers back here, but they're kind of hiding. Yeah, I don't even know what's happening on this side back here. Like this. Can you see it in there in the darkness? I don't know. So that's, yeah, so it's not exactly how I envisioned this year. We'll just try again next year. I'm already thinking about what I might want to do up here next year. So for the hanging baskets, it's also kind of a mixed bag. The Plectranthus is awesome. I mean, it's just happy with whatever, really. Like, whatever is happening, it is happy. The impatience in the fuchsia up here, not so much. And this probably does not get as much water as it should because I don't think to come out here and water it when it's raining every day and I'm not watering everything else. So, and I don't know how much water it might be getting from, like, from the actual rain. I guess if there's wind, it might be getting some, but probably not a ton. So that's where we are on those. Oh, there's actually, okay, hang on. This side actually might have, these are some impatient buds, I think, so those might pop back. Oh, you can see kind of a flower back over here. You see in there, but yeah, I'm going to be thinking about this. I'll probably do something a little bit different in here next year as well, but you know what? That's the fun. I've probably said it before, but gardening to me is a giant experiment. You kind of see what works, what doesn't. So every year is a little bit different too, so you have some wins and some losses no matter what, and I just try to keep that attitude and know not everything's going to be a win. So that's just, the porch containers, not really a win for me this year, but there's other beautiful things, so we can let them go. Okay, here's the walkway from this side. I'm just so happy with it. It was such a mess in past years, and so for it to just look this good right now is I'm so happy about it. I do wish the alyssum on the right side here was a little bit happier, but, and I love the little tater tots. They do bronze a bit during the winter, but it's nice to have that evergreen interest there year round. I might do the same thing next year with the alyssum and salvia. It looks so good, but of course I'll think about it I have some time. All right, let's move over here. I've got some more hydrangeas and the boxwoods in front. I think they need a little bit more protection. That one on the left I need to do some grooming on. But they get like the full blast at the south. This is south over here. And they get the full blast of the sun as well as wind. We have some wicked wind here on the ridge. So yeah, I'm thinking of maybe putting, that bird bath won't be there. I'll come back to that in a minute. But I'm thinking of putting some sort of evergreen shrub in the space where the bird bath is to maybe give them a little bit of protection. You can let me know if you have any ideas. All right, this area here, I do have the ruby tear crabapple in there that I planted earlier in this year. I can put that video in here as well. And it looks really good. It's supposed to have that darker color leaf, and it's a weeping kind of crazy tree. So it's got its crab apples right now. So I'm happy with how that's growing. The rest of this is probably going to go. So I had intended on working on this bed earlier this year, but I had other things come up that kept taking priority. And then we did a party on the other side of the house, and I wanted to do the beds over there first. So this is kind of taking a back seat, and my hope is that this is the next project I'm working on, cleaning this out. I'm going to expand the bed just a little bit, a foot or two. It kind of goes, it's like a circle around here and then swoops in the other side. I'll show you in a minute. And I actually got some plants earlier this spring to put in here, some peonies, and I can't remember if there's anything else. So hopefully at least get those in the ground. I don't know how fast I'll be able to fill this in as far as next year, but yeah, it'll at least clear it out a little bit. The red bergamot or bee balm there is nice, but I do have some of that in the orchard, and it's not really the color scheme I want to go for here. So that will be coming out. And so will the geranium. I was debating leaving some of it, but yeah, I just don't know. I don't know. It kind of has taken over. It does have more flowers earlier in the year, and then it kind of does this for the rest of the year. And I think if I cut it back, it might do more, but I tried doing that with a geranium in another spot, and it just didn't look great. But a lot of this is like invasive stuff. There's like, this is yellow loosestrife. There is gooseneck loosestrife back there. It's looking a little sad because it's been so wet and it's kind of late in the year for it, but that's the white flower you can kind of see poking up there. I do really like to use that in arrangements, so I may leave a little patch of that somewhere, but it needs to be contained. The loosestrife just takes over. There is a dwarf Alberta spruce back there that I planted, so that stays there. It actually has a bird's nest in it right now, so I'm not going near it. We'll give the birds a couple more weeks. I thought it was a little small to nest in, but I think a little bird's in there, so I'm not going to go near that right now. I am going to put that bird bath you saw earlier right where this geranium is, I think. Just bumped in a little bit from where the edge is, and I have some nepeta to put around it. So, and I got 3, and I'm not sure if that'll be enough. Will be for right now. We'll see next year if I want to add more. There is a hose thing back there, so that I have a timer on for right now. There's a drip line that goes to the hydrangeas in the front, as well as where the tater tots and salvia are. And I did set up a drip line to the beds by the deck that I'll show you from here, but I didn't have one of the connector pieces at the time, so it's not on. And honestly, we've had so much rain, it hasn't needed it. So but I want to put another shrub in here. I'm just kind of debating what. So I have some ideas, but I'm debating on it. All right, so in here, there's a lot of weeds. There's some columbine that I'll probably I did let it go. So if it reseeds, I'll probably leave a patch of columbine there. But the new thing is this trellis here that I put in this spring. And I planted a Teasing Georgia David Austin Rose and a Ragucci Clematis. So let me give you a closer look of those, because they are blooming. Okay. Here's the rose, Teasing Georgia, pretty yellow rose. And then the clematis. Isn't that so cute? It's definitely a unique clematis. I'm very excited about it. So hopefully those are also rooting in really well, and they'll grow taller next year. I don't know if they're ever gonna grow as tall as the trellis. It's pretty tall. I believe this trellis is like 9 feet, and it's not on the ground, so it's pretty high up there. In future years, I will plant something at the base so it'll look like it's just kind of, the trellis is just kind of rising up out of the plants. And hopefully each year the clematis and rose will be happy enough that they'll get a little taller. I did plant some ladies mantle in here. It gets sun for part of the day and shade for part of the day, so I thought that would be a good plant for in here. You can see some ferns and pots behind it that need to go in the ground as well in this area. And this is all kind of, there's some like lilac things happening in there, some loosestrife, some lily of the valley. I think lily of the valley is beautiful, and I might let it go in a little patch around the lilac. But I love heucheras. They're like my favorite, one of my absolute favorite perennials. And so I kind of want to just get a collection of heucheras to put in here, along with maybe some ferns and ladies mantle. I just think that would look gorgeous. This is a lilac that needs to be cleaned up desperately. It's been reaching for light. I think it was planted probably around the same time as this maple here, and now the maple is completely blocking it because it's to the south. Well, a little bit to the southwest, but it blocks a lot of it, so you can kind of see it stretching out this way for the light, which isn't not ideal. We'll work on it over a couple years, I think, and I don't know if it's the best location for it. We might take one of the suckers and see if we can replant it in another location, because it's a nice white lilac. So anyway, that's what's there. I love the view in here, framed with the tree and everything, of the potager. I don't know if you can see it back there, but I love that. This area also has a bunch of weeds, but look at those yellow flowers back there. Those are weeds and they look really pretty. Down here I have heuchera. I think these are silver scrolls, but I'm not 100% sure. They're looking a little weary now. They were looking a lot more fresh earlier in the year, and I think I got some footage of that I can show you. But I love them. They're beautiful. And they came back. Can't remember if I planted them last year or the year before. Probably last year. And then this is my daughter's rock collection and the little branch she likes to sit on. This is some brunnera, which has not been in the ground super long. So I had several brunneras back here. You could see that variegated leaf back there. That's a brunnera. And so I wanted to get some more because I had, I think, 5 and only 1 came back. But these are obviously a different variety. So I decided to just stick them back here and maybe I can find more of that other one next year. It would actually be nice to have a third here though, I think. I do have some hostas in here that I transplanted from the front of the house where the hydrangeas are last year. And so I was very happy that they came back. It is weedy, so it'd be nice to weed back here a little bit, but I think they're happy with all the water. There's a bunch of them back here. So I'm thinking maybe intersperse some be in here. I don't know. There's some gold color bleeding heart back there, which I'm actually surprised the leaves are still there because usually it has died back by now. All right, these are the volunteer. We got some grass here and this, whatever this yellow flower is, it's pretty. This is a spirea. I don't think it's gonna stay. You can see that's reaching for light too, so I don't think this is the best spot for it. I'd like to find a shrub here that maybe doesn't need, like is a better shade shrub because the maple tree is pretty big and gets, you know, gets a lot of shade here. All right, this bed and the other one in front of the deck are baby beds. They are almost brand new. They're a couple weeks old. So my friend and I actually dug this bed here out in one afternoon. We worked really hard. So yeah, we dug all the grass out. Then I planted things and we put down cardboard and mulch. And I amended the soil where I planted the plants. The soil here is actually not too bad. I mean, we do have clay, but it wasn't bad at all. And we did dig out and place the stone as well. I think I mostly did that around the edge. So I'm really happy with how these came out. Okay, let me show you some of the plants in here. Again, it's a baby bed, it's new. So I did put some of my Verbena bonariensis that I planted from seed here. Let me show you. So I'm gonna let that go this year, and I'm hoping these are more like cottagey garden areas. So I'm hoping that this can be, yeah, that it could just like reseed itself around, and I'm hoping to pack these areas with plants. There's that bench there I'm really proud of because my son, who is 8, and we built it together as part of his school this past year. It's a little wibbly wobbly, it's not perfect, neither of us really know what we're doing, but we did it together, and that was really special to me. So that's there for right now. I do have stepping stones to it. Okay, so there's some roses in here. We've got an Olivia Rose Austin. I used some pretty copper labels that I actually got. I'm meaning to put them in the rose circle and berry garden as well. There's some annual salvias here. This is a nepeta. I can't remember which variety. It's got bigger leaves and flowers than a lot of varieties I've seen. And there's 3 of those dotted throughout the bed. I've got a little trio of the salvia over here as well. And this rose here is Gentle Hermione. And both of these roses are pink. I think I'm just letting this one go to hips at this point. We'll see if we get, there is a little bit of new growth, so we'll see what happens. There's a Super Junior Bordeaux, which I think would be much happier if there wasn't so much water. Let's see. Okay, I do have a rose in a pot back here, which is looking really happy and budding up right now. This is Plum Perfect Sunbelt. This is not a David Austin. I thought it was the coolest color. It's a purple, but it didn't really go as well with my like it didn't match the other purples. We'll have to see when it blooms. Maybe, like if I like it more, I can stick it in here. It's actually not a horrible location for it. It can't stay outside in the pot because it's a zone 5 and we live in a zone 5 and it's not going to survive in the pot over our winter. So I'd either need to take the pot inside maybe to overwinter or get it in the ground. So let me know if you've overwintered a rose inside. I've never done that before. Oh, then we have my hydrangea standard. I love it. Okay, so I was putting out the plants for this bed, deciding where I wanted things to go. And I said to myself, this would be a really good spot for hydrangea standard, because I've wanted one for a while. It's one of those like bucket list plants for me. And then I remembered that one of our local nurseries was having a sale on hydrangeas that ended like the next day. So I went and looked and made sure they still had them, and then I ran down that afternoon and splurged. So that's what this is. So it's pretty new. It's also just been in a couple weeks. I made a mistake when I first planted it. It wasn't raining every day at the time. I guess it's been a little bit more than a couple weeks now, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago. And so I wanted to make sure it stayed hydrated and watered. Hydrangeas do love water. And so I had the hose on. I left it on like a drip, like really low, around the base of the plant. And then I went and did another garden project, and I completely forgot. So I overwatered it. But I did realize eventually, ran back, turned it off, and did not water it for a couple days. But we have gotten a lot of rain. It's actually looking okay right now. There were a couple days that I was worried about it. It had a lot of yellow leaves that were falling off. But yeah, I think it's pulled through. I haven't watered it again, but again, we've been getting a lot of rain. Luckily, hydrangeas like a lot of water, so I think it'll be okay. Hopefully it's rooting in though, and we'll survive the winter. That'll tell. Look at this. Look at all that new growth. And this is a limelight hydrangea standard. I should mention that. There we go. Beneath it, I do have some Gara, some of this pink Gara here that I transplanted from the rose circle in the spring. And I should mention there is a peony in here, and I'm pretty sure it's a pink peony, but that's about all I remember. I'm sure I have the tag for it somewhere, so I'll need to find the tag and give it a label. This is where we had the party, so that's why I focused on those beds there. I wanted them to look nice when our guests came, and it was really fun. It was a great time. We had a tent here in between the deck and our potager, and yeah, it was fun. So I have some thoughts about the deck I just thought I'd share with you quickly. We've been wanting to redo it since we moved in, honestly. It's not super stable. The railing's not as high as it should be, so there's some problems. We don't use it super often. I would like to use it more. I actually told my husband we should just get a better table out there with an umbrella and use it more, so I might try to do that next year as well. But long term, I would really love to have something different going on here. So my first thought was to do like a covered porch, which I do think would look lovely, and is still a possibility. But then I was been thinking about greenhouses, and for where we are in our climate, I would really love to have like a heated greenhouse that I could use more of the year, because if it's not heated, then I won't use it for most of the year, right? So I have some different ideas. I might put something in the potager that can just be season extension, that maybe I could plant a little earlier and use a little bit later in the year, just to extend like a couple weeks on either side. But what I thought is, what if we did a covered porch but made it a greenhouse? So what if there is like a conservatory on this side of the house, and I could have an area for potting up my plants. We could have it heated, and hopefully it would be easier to heat because it'd be right next to attached to the house essentially. It would be a lot easier to get water to for sure. And then I could also, there's just some things about our house, like we don't have a dining room, we just have one table space, and so I could also have like maybe a dining set in there. I have lots of ideas, as you can imagine. But that would be expensive. I don't even know how long it would take me to save up for that. So that's just a dream for the future. I thought I'd share with you. In the meantime, I was thinking of getting a little greenhouse that ideally I could use in the spring to move plants from my grow lights to the greenhouse to grow on before moving them out, because I just run out of space inside. I do have a whole hardening off process outside, but it'd be nice to have that intermediate step, maybe able to start some cool, things that like it a little cooler in there. And if I could just, maybe run a space heater in the evenings a little bit in April, maybe a little bit of March, I think that would be enough to be able to get some good use out of it as far as potting stuff up. And I think it would be I think it would be worth it. We'd have to see. So one thing I'm thinking is there's this wall here behind these plants, and behind that there's just like a gravel piece, and that's where there was a hot tub before we moved in. So my thought is that maybe in the meantime, if I ever get my dream of the conservatory, I could just put a little greenhouse in there and use it for that purpose. So we would take the wall down and it'd be there. And so where the bench is now and the steps would be where like the greenhouse door would be, or right behind that, I guess. So that is a thought. I don't know if that'll happen next year as far as budget and whatnot. But yeah, that's just a thought. If you want to help me achieve some of these dreams, subscribe below, like this video, tell all your friends about my channel and get them to subscribe and like it, and that would be great. Thanks. Okay, let's move on to the other side of the deck bed here. Okay, so this side here, if you watch my videos, you will have seen before. This is where we put the cute little children reading solar fountain that I love. And it's got some plant friends in there with it now. So I have some Gara that I transplanted. Look at that. It's looking so healthy, so I'm really hopeful that it is establishing and maybe we'll come back next year, fingers crossed. I did put some roses in here. These are not David Austin, these are a coral rose. Let's see here. There's some buds. And there's one on the other side here too. And then I have some Super Tunia Bordeaux along the front. I have a Bobo hydrangea, which is just blooming so beautifully, and a Summer Wine 9 bark back there. Then I have the Coral Burst the Coral Burst crabapple is behind that sunflower that I just couldn't bear to cut. So that's not going to stay permanently, but I left it for right now. The crabapple's looking a little sad, but it was sad when I got it, so we're going to give it a little time and hope it revives. My deck boxes look the best they've ever looked, with the Diacia coming down. The Verbena is kind of in a lull right now. It kind of comes in and out, but when it's there, it looks beautiful. And then I've got some Calibrachoa as well. And then these pots are really fun. I just kind of threw random things in here. And my favorite thing is this chocolate cosmos. It really smells like chocolate. You got to get your nose right up in there. But then it does. It really smells like chocolate. So it makes me happy. And I haven't gotten to this part over here. This is the other side of the breezeway from where we started. And it's a mess of brambles, of raspberry and burdock, and there's a huge sassafras tree that keeps growing even though we keep trying to cut it down. So I'm hoping next year we can tackle this area and I can make it like a moody, like deep reds and purples cottagey garden is my plan. So stay tuned for that. So I hope you've enjoyed this tour of what everything looks like. It's always a work in progress, and a lot of these are baby beds. I just started working around the house really last year, so I'm happy with the progress I've made. I'll be working on it over several years. So until next time, friends, happy gardening.